I've done a lot of different training. I've been on search and rescue for a number of years. I actually started a public safety blasting program where we really had to figure out how to get people to do cave rescue and mine rescue into tight spaces and able to move and break rock. And we subsequently moved that into construction, trades, dirt work, earthworks, mining, anywhere people have to break rock using maybe some unconventional techniques. And, we have had everything from rescue teams to mining companies to blasters and contractors who take these trainings. Basically what we're typically doing when we have someone that already has a project, they anticipate being easy. They're digging a septic tank, a foundation, a trench, whatever, and they hit rock. Your typical contractor is going to maybe try a jackhammer, maybe get an excavator mounted hydraulic jackhammer and knock it out. But when that fails, and it usually does if it's not already weathered or blasted rock, that's when you have to look at drilling and getting splitters, expanding grout, or explosives in to break up that rock safely. Yeah, so typical training, for say a contractor, someone that maybe has a background, doing some other type of work that's adjacent to this, they're going to want to first of all get familiarized with the equipment, and the big thing is drilling. So whether you're going to be blasting, whether you're going to be using a rock splitter like the Rock Demon or a hydraulic or the expanding grout products, you basically need to get really good at reading, understanding what rock looks like, where you can drill it, where the weak points are, and understand the drill principles that rock is very, very strong in compression and very weak in tension. And we basically start by demonstrating that, showing you, how you can actually use, man-portable tools to break rock. We go through all of the setup and safety with compressed air, with silica dust, things of that nature, PPE, what you need to do. And we do really believe that the skills, we use with mechanical rock breaking are transferable later if you want to get on with a blasting crew or later set your own blasting operation up. And then the people who are already skilled at using high explosives, they aren't always skilled in bringing, their large blasting expertise down to, small level and tight areas. And that's where I think it can really be complementary to look at products like the low explosive Roy-X or the expanding grout. Maybe you can use your Hi-X until you get a little too close to the infrastructure, and then you're scaling it down and using these more sensitive techniques. So at the end of 2 days, what I like to see is that everybody has been at least exposed to all of the different methods, from high explosives down to small feathers and wedges for making little adjustments to the rock, and everything in between, so that you have an idea of what you need, how to size the job, what kind of equipment, what its work envelope is, how long you think something will take. Of course, you have the whole network of folks to help you with estimating and sizing and all that. But I think the most important thing is that even if you're not going to use all of these different tools, that you're aware of them and you've seen them in use. A lot of the tools that you're going to need for breaking rock once it gets, above a couple cubic yards in size are really not widely available at your average contractor or rental yard. You can get an air compressor, you can get a jackhammer, a 60 or 90 pounder. That'll work on weathered rock. But as soon as you get to drilling, it's typically really a wild card, a crapshoot, whether you're going to get a yard that has a good rock drill with the right sets of steel and matching sharp drill bits and all that. And then same thing with the expanding grout. That's typically a special order anywhere. So having all of this on hand will allow you to tackle problems really fast and at least get them started. Even if you have to rent or order more supplies later, you'll be able to sustain that job without any interruptions if you have this training and some basic equipment on hand. And drill and blast has been kind of a weird industry. Typically the people who handled hard, difficult to remove bedrock have been drill blast companies. There's been a lot of consolidation in that. Dyno Nobel bought many of the smaller contractors that would handle backyard jobs in addition to large mining operations. Dyno, for instance, doesn't do any construction. So your options for getting, say, a small to medium job done are much fewer than they were a few years ago. And having some in-house capability as well as access to a network of people for labor and obviously tools and trained expertise to come on site, I think is really important if you ever have to deal with rock. Federally, it's not that hard to get set up with licenses from ATF and so forth. But when you get down to the state and local level, that's where the rubber meets the road and a lot of your difficulties start. It might have been that 50 years ago, any normal contractor could go get some dynamite and hire an old miner that knew how to use it and, break some rock and get that done. But now guaranteed it's going to be, a 2 to 4 week process to get that county or city permit. It may require surveying, radius anywhere from, just the 2 neighboring houses to, 500 meters, which might be hundreds of houses if you want to blast and you don't have another alternative. And, there may just be more cost-effective methods that aren't so regulated. So I think there are obviously a lot of opportunities in the trades. And this one in particular, I think there's not a lot of competition. The barrier to entry is still relatively low. You don't need to finance a $300,000 piece of equipment. The amount of equipment you need is on the order of like buying an attachment for a Bobcat. Like you could even rent, if you did something specialty, you could rent something that did fencing or concrete mixing. Well, your drills and your minimum equipment to split rock are not a huge capital investment. I think you just get a little bit of time on the equipment. You work with some other folks. I think you can be doing this and being a support asset to larger contractors or doing your own jobs pretty quickly and relatively low investment. It's just a niche skill that it's kind of hard to acquire anywhere else.